Everybody, welcome to morning lunch. I'm glad you guys braved the ice to come. Today we have 3 speakers, David Bloom, Jennifer Fisher, and Dan Seward here from IHS, who are going to share about fun ways to engage with others.
That's really cool. I didn't know our names.
I do know your names.
Hello. The reason I was impressed is I usually don't remember anybody's name. So I'm always impressed.
She thinks everybody here is a visitor because you've all got
Yeah, you all people are visitors, so I'm okay with that. And I really do mean that. That is my disability. Unless I've known you for a long time, I probably don't know your name, and it's really embarrassing for me because it's not something that I like or want, but I mean, when I got married, my husband wore name tags for 6 months when we were married, so I get used to it. So, but anyway, so here you are today, having lunch. We have a topic, have you ever been engaged, or would you want to be? So, we're going to start with the very first question of the day is, why are you here? And I'd like some people to just volunteer. How many people just came for the free lunch? Put your hand up. If you didn't just come for the free lunch, why did you come? Somebody volunteer. And I know some of you aren't real shy, so who wants to be first?
Hey, these two were forced to be here,
We
so
were.
you guys can speak up. They were forced to
We
be
had to
here.
come. She volunteered us. So
So were any of you volunteered?
why are you here?
Because you're here.
Because I was here. Other than the people that work for us, why are the rest of you here?
I thought the topic sounded interesting.
Okay.
It got, it kind of piqued a little interest.
What did you think the topic would be?
How to engage people,
And,
just different activities, things like that.
okay. Anybody else? Why are you here? What is your expectation for today? What do you want from the topic?
To take this knowledge that you've given us and apply it to the residents that you've spoken with.
Okay. Okay, so this lady would like to have more knowledge and how to improve with your interaction with your residents. Anybody else? Why are you here? Why are we any of us here? How many of us work with people with disabilities? I bet we all do, huh? That's one of the reasons that we're here. Well, Jennifer and David and I are here because Jennifer made us. Okay? Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to offer you all some way to take notes. Jennifer,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Put
I'm
the
sorry,
darn
guys.
cell phone down.
put the cell phone away.
Okay.
And so we have some paper and pens. If
We have to get on
anybody
her
would
like
like
that
to
all
have
the
a
time.
They do. So I'm just gonna.
paper and pencils and whatever for anybody who wants it. You know,
Pencil, please.
Can we have some of those? Let me just start. We're going to start with saying one of the first barriers to engagement in this world today is technology. I'm going to say, how many people would rather text than talk to a person? How many people will sit there and text when you're in the room with the person? You know? How many people do you see in a restaurant that are everybody's sitting there on their phone? They're not talking to each other. They're not paying attention to each other. They're missing an opportunity to engage. And so what we're saying is, be mindful when you're with anybody, I don't care who it is, the most important thing you can do is make that person feel like you are there for them. You're not there just wasting time. You're not there for any other reason. The most important thing you can do for the person to engage the person is to offer them respect of paying attention and being there with them and listening to them. So technology is one of the blessings in our lives, but it's also one of the worst things in our lives. How many people would agree with that? Smartphones, etc. I went on vacation a few years ago. There was a young man in the car with us. We went to the Smoky Mountains. We went through the Smoky Mountains. He never looked out the window. He missed everything because he was on his iPhone. You know, really, you're missing life, about, 6 inches up. So be mindful of that. When you're with a person, please, try to eliminate your cell phone as far as a distraction, because that's the least respectful thing you can do is to be on your cell phone. So, this is a fella, we wanted to share this with you. This fella is dead now, so he's not making any connection. But years ago, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Leo Biscaglia.
Yeah.
Okay. So what have you heard about Leo? What do you know about him?
He was the one that, I think basically just said, hey, we need to be kind to one another, we need to get along with each other, we need to look out for each other.
Let me tell you about Leo, just for a minute. Leo was a professor who taught in Southern California. He taught a class called Love years ago. He died in '87, so years ago. The first time he offered the class, he had 15 people. By the time, after a couple of years, they had to shut it off at 400. Why would that be? It wasn't about sex. It wasn't about that kind of It was about people are dying and want to know how to do personal relationships. People want to know how to personally connect. Leo was Italian. His arms were going all the time. If you watch some of his YouTube videos, which we did, he's very animated. You know, he's funny. He doesn't believe, he says when he gets in an elevator, he doesn't stand and watch the numbers. He says to everybody, wouldn't it be great if the elevator broke down and we could get to know each other? People freak out with Leo, or did. He said they'd all get off at the third floor, whether they got off, you know. This is a lunatic on the elevator. That was Leo. But Leo says, too often we underestimate the power of touch. A smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring. All of which we have the potential to turn around a life, turn a life around. So I wanted to share that with you because we think that's important. So where do we start with this whole concept of connection? Well, as we said, it starts with eliminating distraction. Starts with eliminating the technology. What keeps you from initiating contact with other people? What are some of the problems with that? What do you think?
In response to how they respond to you,
How they,
and it could be negative or positive.
could be embarrassing. They might reject you. You know, how many of you are shy? That's a problem for shy people. You know, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be embarrassed. I select my people that I take where I go very carefully. I'm semi-shy, not totally shy. But there's a lady that works for me who is not shy, totally not shy. So if we want to travel, I want to take her. Because if I have a question, I say, would you go ask? And she's out of the car. It's great, you know? So it's wonderful. But that's one of the reasons that we don't interact with people. We're a little afraid of rejection. We're not sure. We don't want to look stupid. But some of us have decided the thing about getting old, the older you get, the less you care about looking stupid. It's okay. Don't mind. So, maybe you've had past failures. People have rejected you. That's okay. It's that person's problem. They've missed out on you. You know? One of the things we wanted to talk about is where to start. Do you realize that some of our younger folks who are into technology, that they're actually taking classes on how to have conversations? Is that sad? How to start and maintain and have a conversation. And that's one of the things that we want to basically say, here's what's happening. Here's how you have a conversation. One of the things that the three of us, you'll kind of see us together a lot. We go to meetings together. We go, you know, to visit places together. One of the things that we always kind of get, people go, you know, why are you showing up? Why are you there? Why aren't you just, you know, emailing people? Well, I'll tell you one of the things that we believe. We believe that face-to-face is way more powerful than an email or a text. I had staff in another county, 2 staff that were working together. They called me, they said, we've got a problem. I said, what's the problem? We're not getting along. We got together. Here, their whole relationship was texting, texting, texting. One would text something, the other person would read it. They read emotions into it that weren't there. Pretty soon, they're totally upset with each other. I'm going, stop. Pick up the phone and call each other. At least you can hear the emotion. You can clarify when you're misunderstood. It doesn't sound like you're yelling at each other. So be careful with texting. So conversation. David, do you want to take conversation?
I think I can do that. Full disclosure, I really didn't come just because Jennifer told me. I came because I think there's nothing more valuable or important in the whole world in communicating. I've spent over 30 years learning everything I can about it, and I still only know about that much. Second disclosure, I have actually got on an elevator, turned and faced people and said, "You're probably wondering why I brought you all together here." I've done it more than once, and it is really cool. The worst that's going to happen is they're going to get to the next floor, and everybody's going to get off to wait for the next car. But it really, really is cool. The conversation is not easy. How many of you would agree with that? Some of us are very good at talking, but the whole point of conversation is to get advice. I want to do a little exercise. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to ask for 2 specific volunteers, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with them. And I'm going to ask the rest of you to participate in your own way, and I'm going to describe that too. See, I believe you tell people what you're going to do, then you tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. In a minute, I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers. I don't embarrass people. Well, I do, but I only embarrass people I know. And even though I know some of you, you know, I would not embarrass anybody. This is a teaching moment. What I'm going to ask those volunteers to do is engage in a conversation with me, like I'm talking maybe to this person and to this person. And I'm going to use some very simple conversational techniques. Again, not going to trip you. There's no hidden agenda, no trick questions. And about midway through the process, I'm going to treat one person in one way and another person in another way. But again, not on them, it's on me. It's how I ask the questions and how I'm doing. Midway through the process, I'm going to switch and talk to the other person the way I was talking to the first person and vice versa. So the 2 people that don't volunteer, I'm going to ask you to watch me. Don't watch the people that I'm talking to. Watch me, and after we're done, we'll talk about what you observed, what you thought. Was I relatively clear? Are there 2 people who would like to engage me in that kind of conversation, knowing that the group's going to watch me and not you?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, just stand where you are, please.
Oh, stand?
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, yeah.
One more break. Okay. Now, am I correct? I believe I don't know either of you.
Right.
And it's not essential, it's good. If nobody stood up, I was going to pick on Jennifer and Janet, and I could do it with them. So as I said, I'm going to start, can I ask your name?
Joanne?
Joanne?
Valencia.
Valencia. Joanne Valencia, and I'm David. We're going to have a conversation. I'll start talking to you. We could be gathered anywhere. I'm going to start talking to you, and I'll flip to you, and back and forth and back and forth. So what I want the rest of you to do is watch me and observe how I'm doing. Any questions about that? It's really serious. It's really fun. And again, I will not embarrass you or not do anything. Joanne, did you get everything you wanted for Christmas?
No.
Could you mind sharing maybe one thing you didn't get?
When I was a kid, my brother had given me a transistor radio,
Okay.
and I really wanted a transistor radio for Christmas.
Do they still make transistor radios?
You can find them on Amazon.
Okay. That's really neat. Valencia, what do you think about this weather we're having right now? Do you like it? Does it fit with your lifestyle?
No, I don't.
I know there was that winter that we had last year. Remember, it just snowed all the time and it was just bitter cold all the time?
No.
There was one of those days when I couldn't get out of my driveway for 2 days straight. It was really tough. Joanne, this transistor radio, how many transistors does it have?
I have no idea,
Okay.
but I just have really good memories of it. And I guess I just need some good memories in my life right now.
Oh, I think that's really exciting. Any particular kind of memories you'd like to have?
Yeah, washing my brother's car. And listening to the transistor radio and
Wow.
just being there.
Valencia did. Did you get anything that you particularly can relate to and you particularly love for Christmas?
No, I didn't get what I wanted for Christmas.
Was that okay, or was it a sense of disappointment about that?
It was okay though. Most of people was happy and they got what they wanted.
So for you, the really important thing is other people being happy.
Yeah.
Joanne, what could you say more about why that you really need that kind of happiness and satisfaction in your life right now?
Just have happy.
I spent the whole summer, after I was in school, earning the money to buy that radio. It was the first major thing I ever bought, and I really, really enjoyed that. Wow, that's just absolutely awesome. Valencia, is there anything not necessarily Christmas related that would make your life good?
Yes, yes it is.
Do you mind sharing what that would be?
That would be a husband.
Okay. That is a good point. Thank you very much, and ask you both to sit down. Okay. What did you observe about my technique? Anybody observe anything?
You were engaged with her, you were looking at her, you were listening to her, you were nodding your head. As soon as she would talk, you would interrupt all the time, and then you flip. It's the same thing.
And it was that apparent, wasn't it? It is so blatantly obvious. And you could see when I switched. Let's take a minute and ask you, Joanne, how did it feel, first of all, when I was so into you and the Christmas and all of that kind of thing?
You're good.
And Valencia, may I ask you when I asked about weather and I wouldn't even let you open your mouth? How'd that feel?
So disrespectful, rude.
When I thought about doing this, I thought about doing it just one-on-one and one-on-one and doing one person the other way. And I thought I'd probably get killed on my way out. Let me ask you, who has ever been in a communication scenario that went like that? So what did I do wrong in either case? Valencia, what did I do wrong with you? What do you wish I hadn't done?
Talk over me, give me a chance to talk, but Bailey talks over me. When you ask me a question, I answer. I hate that.
Well, don't hold back. Let me know how you really But it did feel good that I was at least some redemption, right? When I did open up with you and ask you. And Ruth, were you ready? Not Ruth.
My daughter's name is Ruth.
It's just early on. Well, it's not early onset dementia, but you know, no. Help me, Joanne. Oh. See, that was a good way to get out of that. But when I was really into talking about the gift and all that, it was great. And then were you ready to slug me at that point?
Yes.
Okay, now let me ask the $63.50 question. That's how old you are. It used to be the $64 question. No, I said that lets you know how old I am. It lets you know how old the group is. It's, you know, when you get to a certain age, you put the jokes out there and they go, oh. It comes quicker than we all think. Have any of you ever been guilty about stepping all over somebody in communication scenario? Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite topic to talk about?
Myself.
Exactly! I have tried for a long time to get somebody to say it again.
Myself.
And that's really
About
basically,
me.
huh? It's basically true of every one of us. So, what's the easiest thing to get somebody else to talk about with you? Yes. See, this is so simple and so basic. I almost feel bad. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence by telling you this, but we do it as a culture and a society so seldom that it ought to be self-obvious. And also, what's the easiest trap to get into when someone starts telling you about themselves? And when you feel yourself doing that, stop. You know, the best kind of conversation to have from the other person's point of view is one where they come away really not knowing anything about you. You know you've succeeded if you've drawn everything out of them that they want to share with you. And by the way, I mean, you know this, I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. That's called free information. I could have a conversation with Joanne about transistor radios that could go on for hours. And then we move into gifts and we move into other things. And I could talk with Valencia. We could talk about wanting to get a husband. And we could go there. But now, I bet when you saw the thing, do you want to be engaged? You were thinking in terms of a personal. What if you had engaged in meaningful conversation and meaningful communication with other people? See, we could find that out if we ask those kinds of questions. It's powerful. You could be the most sought-after, desired person in people's lives just by doing that. We want to share a few more things as we go that kind of build on. Any questions? Thank you. Thank both of you. And thank all of you because you all participated. Thank you.
So, as David says, when you have a conversation, it's about the other person, not about you. Before you all came in, we had a couple of early people that came in. What do you know about me in our conversation? I know a lot about you. I know that that's Team RMS, right? And I know where you work, not who you work with, but I know some of the things you like and some of the things you don't like and some of the things you like to change. And why was that? Because I didn't tell you anything about me. So you really don't know anything about me, which is okay. So that's what David was talking about. In a conversation, it's all about the other person. It's all about your consumer. That's one of the things that we fall into pitfalls, and I cringe when a consumer calls me up and asks me about something about the staff that's in their personal life. Why do they know that? And I don't mean that, but that's really crossing that professional boundary in engagement with that consumer. Consumer, and you know what I'm talking about? And I don't know if that's how you all, your agencies look at it, but I do. That's not something, I don't want the people that we're serving worried about my marriage. Okay? I have enough trouble with that. I don't need to worry about it. Okay? So ask more questions. Ask about them. How are you doing? How's it going? Whatever. How many of your administration come and ask you questions about you? How are you doing? What's happening in your, what's happening? How can I make your job better? Does that happen?
Yep.
It should. It does in our case. Yeah.
We
It
didn't
does.
plant her to answer it.
We didn't. Gloria is not a plant, but there she is. She'll tell you that. So anyway, basically, be authentic. Don't pretend. Don't pretend you're interested. Be authentic. Because it's really interesting to talk to other people. You're going to find out tons of things. And it's really fascinating. People are fascinating.
I have to, so can I do a role play with you?
Sure.
About, I ask you a question, try to get to know you.
Mhm.
I don't want to see your response also.
Mhm.
But where did you get that vest from, that shirt, that right there?
Do you like that? You know what?
I
The
do.
reason I bought this and I wore this is so that rather than looking at how fat I am, you'll remember the vest.
And I like it regardless what it's supposed to do, but where did you get it from?
Actually, I'm a QVC person.
Really?
So that's more than I really want to share. I am, and this is a cute. But that's why I wore it, because I thought it would be very distracting from my real body.
It is, I like it.
Okay. So, but that's, okay? But but be authentic. Because I can say, oh, really? You really, but I like that whole sort of playful engagement. If you're standing in the grocery line, why not talk to the people that you're standing with? You don't have to stand there like a dolt, So it's fun. When we go to restaurants, some people are embarrassed, but when we go to restaurants, David will always say to the server, did you get what you wanted for Christmas, if it's Christmas time, not during them? Or are you going to school?
And that works no matter whether they're 23 or 80. Are
Yeah,
you
I've
still
had-
going to school?
You had older people go, "I'm going to school." But the thing of it is, it gets people, it lets them talk to you. So when we walk into some of these restaurants that we frequent, we have people that are dying to wait on us. They want to serve you because you've made a connection. You've engaged them. You know not a lot about it, but you know enough about them to make that personal connection. People are hungry and thirsty and want that personal connection. Am I right? So, okay. I have to figure out where I'm at in my notes because I didn't bring them with me, and these are Jennifer's. All right. Okay. I don't know, Jennifer, where that page is. Hopefully you find it.
Got one more.
There we go. Got it. All right. So, getting back to our field and us. We are supposed to go out and do community inclusion. Has no one ever heard of that? What does that mean? Really, what does it mean? What do you, when you hear community inclusion, what do you think? Anybody? What do you do?
Outings, events.
But where? Doing what?
Bowling.
Doing what?
Anywhere outside the home.
Yes.
Where? Where
It
do you
doesn't matter.
start?
It doesn't matter. It's
Where do you
everywhere.
start? It does matter. Where do you start?
Where you like to be.
So, how do you know where to go
Where,
and to connect in the community?
where who likes to be?
Who?
Where you like to be?
Well, no, I mean,
Last question.
How do you start that process?
Conversation.
Conversation. Yeah. How do you start to know where you're going to connect to the community? Community is a huge word. It's very vague. So let's talk about what is a community. So what are communities? Anybody want to volunteer? What is some of your personal communities? Anybody go to church? Is that a community?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody belong to a club? You know? Anybody have a card club they get together? That's a community. Anybody belong to a bowling team? That's a community.
Water aerobics.
Yeah, senior citizen. Yeah, that's a community. The one thing you need to know is what communities am I trying to connect to? You know, I like dogs, which is something I'm going to tell you, which is, you know, so for me, that is a community, people that like dogs. I used to ride a Goldwing motorcycle. I used to belong to a Goldwing club. That was a community. Because of why? Because we shared the interest in the motorcycle. Now, I don't see those people anymore because some of them have died and some are older. Most aren't riding motorcycles. Once you lose that connection, you lose that community. So you start with finding out what communities are you interested, is the person interested in? That's a real challenge. And that's where the conversation comes in. Not about me. I'm not going to take you to my Goldwing club. Unless you have a Goldwing. Then we'll definitely talk. But mostly I'm not. I'm going to see what is it that you want to do as a community person. And that's not easy. So what are some of the communities that you try to connect to? Is there a community at the library? Is there a book club at the library? Is there reading kind of things going on at the library? That's how you look at communities. That's where you look, can I connect? There are times when, as a job, you're asked to collect the communities that you're not interested in. Possibly. I mean, I can tell you a story, and I will. I had a gentleman who went to a particular church. It happened to be one of the more animated churches. Okay? The staff that was working with him was not an animated person. He didn't particularly appreciate that level of enthusiasm. But it was his job, not his life. So he took him to the church, and he came in the next day and he goes, Janet, I did it, but I'm just not comfortable. I don't feel like, it's not my thing. And I said, okay. He said, would you mind, instead of going into the church, by getting in there, he's all situated, he's got his folks that love him and are around him, I'd like to stay in the back or stay outside. I said, well, you're on property, you're fine, you're there. So he stayed in his car. It was a summer day, He stayed in his car. The next day he came in, he goes, it didn't work. I said, what? He said, I was in my car, they were in there, they were singing their hallelujah, and all of a sudden it went quiet. The back windows of the church went up, and those people were all praying for me. So, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work. But there are times that we're part of a community that we may not be comfortable in. In that case, you look for somebody that you can connect that individual with, who they'll feel more comfortable, maybe fit in a little better than you might. You know, for example, if I were working with someone who was very into gymnastics, this woman is not the right person. I can't walk across the room without falling down. So I'm not the right person, but I could get them there, and I could try to make a connection, but I'm probably not their connecting piece. Does that make sense? Okay, so, all right. So, we want to look at building your toolbox, because it's always good to have a toolbox to pull things out of. Say, I'll try this. That didn't work. I'll try something else. What has worked for you in your toolbox of connecting to the community? You've got lots of experience in the room, so I know you've done it. So tell me, what's worked for you?
Well, my first thing is, how you doing? That would be my start of the conversation, or good afternoon, and then they would respond back to me, and they would go from there. But asking them how you doing to an older person, no, because it goes on and on. They go and tell you every little, and it's sad because I did it too. Yeah, and you'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have asked that, but I always like, how you doing?
So what do you do when that person starts going on and on? What do you do then? You go, oh, this was a bad question, but what do you do?
Really? Oh, okay. Okay.
Do you redirect? Try to go to a different topic?
No, because I end up talking about my issues. So we be going back and forth, see who's better or worse.
Who's sicker? Who has more medical issues? Let's compare notes. I'll show you my chart, you show me yours.
Yeah.
Yeah? No, that isn't a good thing.
No.
Anybody else have any suggestions? What could you do?
I say redirect.
Who said redirect? I'm with you. Just try to redirect. It's the same thing when you're in the public and you know you can't share information about that person, but they're trying to share with a perfect stranger everything in their life that you know it's very embarrassing. Don't you try to redirect and pick a different topic and go a different direction, or, you know, move on or something, right? So, what other tools could you put in your toolbox, conversation-wise?
You can give them a compliment. Compliment on something that they're wearing or.
Absolutely, but be genuine.
Yeah.
That's one of the best ways to start a conversation. I've been in grocery stores, and I've looked at other people's carts and going, oof. But sometimes you say, boy, it looks like you're going to have a really good dinner. Do you have an extra plate? Can I come over and sit with you? And people will start talking to you. How are you going to fix that? You know, just pay them a compliment. Get them talking about something else. Try to make it, you don't want to make it so that it's personal, it's embarrassing, but there are a lot of safe topics to talk about. So, don't start politics.
No,
That's not a good one. Other things that you can put in your toolbox.
I got a question.
Mhm.
What if a person wanted to start a conversation with me and I don't feel like talking? So how do I like keep them away from it?
You know what? Be genuine with them. Say, I'm really tired. Would you mind if we don't talk right now? I mean, I really don't want to talk about that. Or, you know, that's pretty personal.
You know, there's a good comment to make, goes right along with what Janet is saying. One of the other pieces you need to realize is there are some topics you can't deal with at a particular time in your life. Let's say you've just had a significant loss, and someone starts talking about a loss that they've experienced. It's very authentic to say, that is really special. And I hear the pain that I think I'm hearing in your voice. But because of some stuff that's going on within me, I can't really talk about that right now. I hope that's okay. And I have never had anybody get upset or offended about that. It's what Janet is saying. Be authentic, be genuine, and people respond to that.
Anybody else? Toolbox, what do you use? Come on, I know you're very skilled, so what do you use?
Sometimes conversations with their family are all they like.
Other people that know them?
I'm reading their ISBs thoroughly. I learn a lot from the paperwork and stuff.
Can I just say yes? I know, I read that you really like to do this. You know, I gotta tell you, one of the things that, we do silly things at IHS. We do a lot of silly things. One of the things that we did last year, and I just have to say, is we decided that we wanted to get to know some of the people we work with in a different way. So, some of us came up with this goofy questionnaire. What are your favorites? Favorite color, favorite music, you know. What do we have, 20 questions? Wasn't it, guys? You know what? I have to tell you, we have some people we have two offices. We have a Columbus office, and they do all the business and numbers, and they're fairly stodgy as far as I'm concerned. And then we have a Lima office, who's very animated, we talk, and we do people things. The Columbus office, kind of like they shut the doors, and you really think like they're all in caves. But we did this with them. We got those people interested because we're asking about them. We're saying, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite, you know. It was neat. So we took all that information, of course, we file it. So this year, when we went to buy gifts or appreciation, what did we do? We pulled out their questionnaire. We knew that that person liked purple, and that person liked this, and this person liked that. We were able to do personal shopping. That's pretty cool. We didn't buy pens that said IHS on them for everybody. We bought individual presents, and some of them were a lot of fun. So, anyway, so those are the kinds of things. Now, how did it make you guys feel when you got those? Maybe you haven't gotten yours, Tara.
The gifts?
Yeah, the gifts that we got.
Special.
Because we had taken the time and invested our energy in finding out about them and giving them something we thought they'd like. And that's what all of this is about taking the time, investing the energy, and making it personal.
So you might not think you're all that creative, because I am one of those stodgy people. I'm one of our numbers people that she talks about from that other office.
But we still pull her along.
And I've hung out with these two a lot. So I've been learning, and guess what? There's this really amazing thing. It's called Google. Have you guys heard of it? So what I do is I have to use that because I'm not the creative one. So when I need questions, I go to Google. And it's been amazing because, like, my husband and I, we done a lot of road trips. And, you know, you're sitting there, and what do you normally do? The driver's there, you're on your phone. You're listening to music. If you're going to be gone for like 8 or 10 hours, that gets really boring, right? Getting to know you questions. Google it! And then I get my creativity there. But it's amazing because that's how you figure it out. So if you're like me, and you're like, I couldn't come up with those questions, I don't really want to answer that, there are resources, and they're at every one of our fingertips because we all can get on the internet. Just search it. It's amazing. So even if you're not creative, and I guess that's what I want to tell you guys, even if you're not creative, you can still find the information, and it's just there. So that was my part. So.
And you need to put some goofy questions in your repertoire.
Yes.
That people aren't expecting. So if you're going through the Walmart, I hate Walmart. I see the other very well. But you get to the cashier, and you don't say to the cashier, "How's your day?" Because what's she gonna say? It's fine, and she's gonna keep scanning. But if you say to her, "What did you scan the most today?" Oh, she has to think about it a second. She's going to give you a more authentic response, you know? Or which special seems to be selling the most? She's going to, that doesn't threaten her, she's just, but ask those questions of people that they're not expecting. They're called open-ended questions. It's like, did you get everything you wanted for Christmas? Yes and no. Well, what did you get for Christmas? What didn't you get for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? You know, those are open-ended questions. Those will keep conversations flowing and give you more information.
So can you guys think of any good open-ended questions for when you're working, when you first get there? Was your day good?
No, that's not open-ended because you can answer it with a yes or no.
Exactly, that's what
Yeah,
I was
so
gonna go
what
with.
was the best thing you ate today? Oh,
Sorry.
No, that's good.
I mean, that's a question. So, you know, you had lunch. What was your favorite thing for lunch that you had? Make them think. Okay, I had, you know, what I have, and then what was my favorite thing? Open the conversation so you get more information. That's what we're suggesting with making connections. That's how you connect to other people. You know, like I said, I know more about these two and RMS than I did an hour ago, right? I know she works in Ottawa. I know that she's been there 20-some years, 23 years, 9 years for you. You know, you listen, you hear, you know. Open your mind, open your questions. So, has anybody had an amazing experience that they'd like to share that's been a very positive one in making a connection? How about a spectacular failure? A really big one.
You said failure?
Failure.
I'll have to grab some out.
A very spectacular failure.
So can you share one with us?
Sure, it's a spectacular failure. I mean, like just out there, great failure.
I can, I say like, I don't know if this would be good, but I'm expecting my work check. And I'm thinking it's gonna be big because of all the hours I work. But then you turn around and look in your account, it's nowhere there. So is that? Could that be it?
What did you do about it? Did you talk to somebody about it?
No, I just rant and rave.
And did that solve anything?
It's solved a little bit because I got all that anger out. But the other part, no, because I still was broke.
Did they fix it? Did they fix the problem?
No.
Problems called
I
haven't really, I didn't talk about it to
We were easy to get that fixed.
And, I'm looking like, I know it works all these hours, but you know what, sometimes I get the weeks mixed up.
Yeah.
And be thinking, this is supposed to be on this check, but really it's not, and then it's just a mess, how I think. That'll be it sometimes.
Yeah. Finding out more information is really.
So Friday's coming up, we're gonna see how this will turn out.
Anybody else have any spectacular failure? I have to tell you, I've been around a long time. And I used to work for the county board, and I don't know if you remember Esther, superintendent here. I worked for Esther back when she was the director of the workshop. Maybe it's been that long. And I can remember spectacular failures. I can remember the first time I went in Esther and I said, I have a problem and here it is. And she says, don't come to me. I go, you're my supervisor. You come to me, you tell me your problem, and you also offer me 2 possible solutions. Then we'll talk. I never went back in her office. But I didn't have at least a seed of an idea how I'd like to fix it. Because she told me that was her expectation. Spectacular failure. I just thought she was going to fix it for me. No. So she goes, okay, what do you want to do about it? And tell me what you want to do about it. So, yeah, spectacular failure. Learned a lot. Don't do that anymore. So, we have this from Thomas Edison, who is a pretty amazing man. Obviously, you know that he is. But he was a spectacular failure. He tried 10,000 times to make a light bulb before he managed to do it. And so he's saying to us, I found 10,000 ways that don't work until I found one that did. And so he's saying our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always just try one more time. And that's what we're saying. Connections are important, so try one more time. Anybody have any questions, comments?
So engagement is not hard, is it? Is it hard? We miss a lot of opportunities, but it's really not hard. Just look for those opportunities, grab a hold of them, and you will be amazed, because I've spent an awful lot of time with this guy, and I can tell you, I've been with people who don't ask the questions, don't engage people, and you are treated so much differently when you just walk in and you just don't work to engage people than when you're one of those people that they're like, wow, I really look forward to talking to you. And why? Because you cared about them.
And you listened,
Exactly. So take the time,
paid attention.
and it really has huge payoffs. So, but it's not hard, and that's what we want to leave you guys with. It's really not hard. So try it, and I'll bet you'll walk away smiling, whereas you might have walked away not quite so happy.
Oh, sometimes it's goofy.
A lot of times.
But it's fun. We have a fella, we go to Florida, what, a couple times a year? We have a fella at IPOC in Florida who always, whenever we walk in, runs to us with open arms. And we're not there that often. And hopefully, he's not there anymore. We hope he got a better job. But his name was Jason. And we always knew where I knew that Jason had a daughter. You know, we knew a lot about Jason.
He was divorced,
He
so.
was divorced, he
but-
lived in a motel. he
Lived
had
in a
daughter.
motel, yeah.
Yeah, more than I wanted to know. But twice a year, he'd come running and he'd be the best server he ever had. So it really does work. So thank you all for coming.